What up, is Marcus with Dynasty Fantasy Dads. We're here with another video. We are redrafting the second round, players 13 through 24 of the 2020 draft. So I know you can't redo things, but this at least gives you player values where I have them now here as of January after the season is completely over for pretty much every rookie besides maybe CEH. Now, please subscribe if you want daily content. We're going to be doing daily videos. And please comment if you want to try a chance to win January's giveaway, which is a rookie. That's Shaq, Mr. Shaq, number 33 at LSU, his classic card. So, if you didn't watch the first video, I go a little bit more in depth, of course, but the rankings are Taylor, Jefferson, CEH, Dobbins, Swift, Gibson, Lamb, James Robinson, Cam Akers, Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins, and Chase Claypool. That leaves us off with number 13, and that is going to be Mr. Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is somebody that I definitely had lower going into the season, but he definitely impressed because I thought Deebo Samuel was going to be more part of the offense, and also we thought George Kittle was going to be healthy, and both those things didn't happen. In fact, their whole team really wasn't healthy. He was drafted 25th in the first round. He had 60 receptions on 96 targets and 748 yards, with 7 total touchdowns, 5 of them being receiving, 2 of them being rushing. And this was all in 11 games. So 2/3 of a season, he did all of this. So, I mean, he was on a 1,000-yard pace almost, and probably a 10-touchdown pace, which is a good wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk was definitely good without Deebo Samuel, and he was decent with him on the field. So my biggest concern, I guess, with Brandon Ayuk going forward is, what exactly is that offense going to look like with potentially a new running back? Or are they going to stick with Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert? Like, what are they going to do there? Will George Kittle being healthy take a lot of that chunk away since they are not a pass-heavy team? A lot of different questions, but at number 13, that's definitely where I think Brandon Ayuk falls. Number 14 is going to be the first quarterback off the board, and it's maybe not who you think. Maybe it is who you think. It's going to be probably Rookie of the Year, Mr. Justin Herbert. He was drafted 6th overall in the first round by the Chargers. 66% passing completions, 4,336 yards, a record, 31 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He showed the talent. You look at individuals like Josh Allen, I'm trying to think of otherwise, even like Deshaun Watson, the mobility and the passing wise. I mean, Justin Herbert's more mobile than we kind of give him for. He's really good on the run. We thought that pressure was going to just collapse the pocket and he was just going to fold like an accordion. That has not happened. He's actually impressed under pressure, and it has showed he can throw on mobility on the run when he does escape the pocket. Aaron Rodgers light. So he's impressed me. When you break records as a rookie, with the roster he has around him is actually pretty decent as well. So it should stay that way with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, being a full season of Austin Eckler with those dump down touchdowns. Yeah, you just can't you can't pass him up here at 14. Number 15, the first overall pick in the draft. Mr. Joe Burrow, and he's going to be the biggest question mark, not because of his talent, it's going to be because of his injury. How quickly does he recover? How much did he actually tear through there? I mean, rumors are pretty much all ligaments, ACL, MCL, PCL, LCL, maybe not all the ligaments. There might be partial tears in there as well. Also, usually when you have 4 ligaments of an injury, usually you tear some meniscus tissue too. So we're talking a 12-month injury. But when he was on the field, we're talking 10 games. He was 65.3%, so just slightly below Burrow, but 2,688 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. So he was very competent. He was starting to definitely jive with like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Unfortunately, just gets hurt in a horrible way, and his offensive line is absolutely horrible. So you have to think that the Bengals' number one priority is drafting offensive line and defense, and that's pretty much what the Vikings need to do as well. I'm a Viking fan, if you can see with all my Viking stuff, but that's exactly what the Vikings need to do. It's exactly what the Bengals need to do to help get their offense doing better, and then, of course, their defense needs to improve as well. But number 16, this is a guy who only had 242 yards rushing. It's Mr. A.J. Dillon. He was drafted in the second round And why I tell you what rounds these were drafted in is because draft capital matters. And in the second round, that matters for a Green Bay Packers team who apparently is having some issues signing Aaron Jones. And we kind of figured that was going to happen. Packers tend to let their players go, especially after the rookie contracts. In the running back position is extremely likely. Like, that's what they just do. They use them for 4 to 5 years and then they get rid of them. Jamal Williams, also a free agent. Will he be signed, or will he go? He's a third down passing back. You can see A.J. Dillon with the goal line touchdowns and things like that. But A.J. Dillon, 46 carries, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 5.3 average, and really showed out the last couple games. And I forgot to say, he will be still in the playoffs, so he might be somebody to look at. Depending on how much Aaron Jones touches there. I mean, it's really hard to figure out what that rushing game is like, but if A.J. Dillon has no Aaron Jones there, A.J. Dillon can definitely shoot up the boards, even though I don't really like him as a prospect. He's a big guy, but he's not a super physical guy. He's a slower, worse Jonathan Taylor by a mile. So that's kind of my comparison to him. He doesn't have the vision and stuff like that as well. Number 17 is somebody I was actually really high on, but I knew that his team was going to struggle the first year, and that is Denzel Mims. He was drafted in the second round, 59th overall, 9 games. So this is half the season. He had 23 receptions for 357 yards and 0 touchdowns. If I would say somebody that you could buy low on, him being number 17, it would be like the 17th overall right now. I think he's somebody that you could buy low on. It really depends on what the Jets are going to do again at the quarterback position. Are they going to stick with Sam Darnold, or are they going to go somewhere else? And my thoughts are they're going to try to keep Sam Darnold. They're going to try to go for it. And I have no idea. I mean, he's a mystery. I really think Denzel Mims is going to have a better second year, but still have a struggling season. It's not going to be a great season. He's more of a third-year breakout wide receiver. That would be Denzel Mims. So if you can wait another year, please do. I think that would be awesome for him. Another quarterback situation for this wide receiver. He was drafted 21st in the first round, just a little bit ahead of Mr. Justin Jefferson. I wonder if the Eagles wish they missed on this one. But Jalen Reagor, 11 games, 31 receptions, 396 yards, and a touchdown. Many people had him as their first wide receiver role, second overall wide receiver. He was actually my wide receiver 4. So he was behind in order: Lamb, Jefferson, Judy, and then Reagor in that order pre the 2020 season. And it's just simply, he was raw at TCU. You saw times where he was supposed to be a man among boys and just didn't see like that. And then there was glimpses even in the Eagles season for how horrible it was that he showed glimpses, and then there's other times that he would just be injured and have problems with that. I mean, injuries are a concern for him. 396 yards, a touchdown. It'll be interesting. And he played 11 games, so he did play quite a bit of the season. And it'll just be really interesting to see, again, is it going to be Hurts or Wentz? If it's Wentz, I think he plays a little bit better. If it's Hurts, I don't think that the wide receiving game will be as potent. And I think, realistically, it's going to be which quarterback is it going to be. If it's Hurts, Miles Sanders goes up and Reagor goes down. If it's Wentz, I think Miles Sanders goes down and Reagor goes up. And I mean, Eagles have been rumored to have another wide receiver draft pick on their mock drafts. It's like they missed on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. They missed on potentially Reagor. We don't know. It's still early. But if they miss on those 2 wide receivers and they go for it again, now they're just doing the Detroit Lions way. They're just trying in numbers and not in quality. So quantity, not quality sometimes. Number 19, and this guy could have a huge jump just based on his situation, and that is because he's getting Trevor Lawrence, and that is Laviska Shenault. He was 42nd overall in the draft, and that was in the second round. He had 58 receptions for 600 yards and 5 touchdowns. The biggest issue that I have with him is he doesn't play as a normal wide receiver. He's more of a gadgety type. He's kind of a Cordero Patterson-esque-ish. He runs out of the backfield. He does these different little dump-off screens. Like, that's his type of wide receiver game. So I think his production will go up because of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence needs that opposite to the DJ Shark and maybe the Colin Johnson and stuff like that. But I think Laviska here at 19 is a good spot to be at. A good middle second. I mean, these are some wide receivers that have a lot of upside, a lot of downside. And if you pick on the right ones here, you're going to be golden, and if you pick on the wrong ones, you're going to be selling basically pennies on the dollar. Number 20, we're getting back into the running backs, and this guy was drafted in the third round, 86th overall. That is Zach Moss. And so Zach Moss was a Buffalo running back. I had a little bit lower because I do like Devin Singletary, and I don't like that Josh Allen steals a lot of those touchdowns. And as somebody that's had Josh Allen on many fantasy teams, I knew that Josh Allen baseline's been 5-6 rushing touchdowns, and he had even more this year. And so I knew that was his baseline. And if you have that and you have Singletary in the backfield, you knew Moss was going to have potentially some issues on this RBBC by 3 people because, of course, of the quarterback. And so he had 112 rushes, 481 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4.3 yards a carry. Nothing overly glamorous about those things. The biggest key is you just hope that he becomes more of the goal line back. Every time he seems like he gets ahead of Devin Singletary, he hurts himself. And that even happened like a couple games ago. Literally, just he was so close, and all of a sudden, first playoff game, hurts himself. It's like, is that going to be his career where he just gets close but just can't get past it? There's still some hope, though, here at 20. I think that he's a good player to pick here. I think he's better than like the Keyshawn Vaughn and any other running backs below that. There's not really other choices. Like, that's your problem, is you have the elite running backs from this group. You have A.J. Dillon, then you have this drop off even further, and then you have Zach Moss, and then drop off further, and then Keyshawn Vaughn, and then drop off to eternity, basically. Number 21, we are going to go back to quarterbacks. 5th overall from the Miami Dolphins for now. Who knows if he gets traded, but there's been some rumors with him and Deshaun Watson switching around. That would change things because I don't like Houston right now. But Tua Tagovailoa, 10 games. This is a 2/3 of a season, and 10 games is a kind of like an asterisk because Fitzmagic came in there and stole the show and was the better quarterback for the majority of the season. But 64.1%, which is good. 1,814 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So a quality quarterback, and I think he can be a decent quarterback. But for fantasy purposes, I don't know if you're going to see that elite out of him. I would completely rather have Burrow or Herbert at this time. Tua, he's definitely lower on my list, of course, but I think he will be he'll be a Jared Goff of fantasy, where you're not going to be super impressed, but you're not going to be like disappointed. He's going to be 14th overall, and you're going to be like, well, that wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. Like, that's what you're going to get from Tua. So if you can try to stream him on the right weeks, he'll be fine and serviceable for your dynasty team. 3 people left. 2 of them are from the same team. We're going to go back-to-back. 22 is Henry Ruggs. He was the first wide receiver drafted, 12th overall. I was actually shocked when the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, I almost said Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders picked him. I was like, what? He's not the best wide receiver. You took him over CeeDee Lamb. You took him over Justin Jefferson. You took him over Jerry Jeudy. Like, what are you thinking? Well, they wanted speed. And, gosh, Al Davis loves speed. But 26 receptions, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns. We assume Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback coming back. He's going to be a boomer bust player. I see him more as a McCole Hartman type, but maybe more targets, maybe slightly more consistent. That's where he's at, is 22 right now. And that's a pretty far drop from probably the top 12, which he was currently going in. He's the first wide receiver drafted off the board. You still have to give him that draft capital, but sometimes these things don't make sense. Sometimes teams, they try to outsmart themselves, and they went with 4.3, tried to go 4.2-ish speed, and they still don't use them properly in a lot of different sets. And that's where I go into number 23, which I think the person could have a better season than Henry Ruggs next season. Bryan Edwards, which a lot of people even have hyped up on him. And we can't forget about him. I mean, he had a lot of injuries. But youngest breakout score in the 2020 draft class. Henry Ruggs had no breakout score, which is a huge red flag. So Bryan Edwards, 3.81. So what does that mean? It means round 3, draft pick 81. So 69 draft picks behind Henry Ruggs. He had 11 receptions again for 193 yards and just a single touchdown, but again was injured throughout the year. He's your big-bodied wide receiver. He's 6'3", 215 pounds. He's going to be that X wide receiver. I mean, you look at what they did for this season. Nelson Aguilar broke out on that team. That would be more Henry Ruggs' type, but Waller was just destroying defenses, and if they could have just another big-bodied wide receiver, Bryan Edwards, if they could use him right, he could take away a little bit from Waller, but he could actually show out and become a really integral part of the offense. And number 24, we got a tight end. We got our first and we got our only tight end in the top 24. He was drafted 43rd overall in the second round. He is Mr. Cole Kmet. 28 receptions, 243 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I'm assuming Jimmy Graham is gone. I don't know. I saw a picture of like Jimmy Graham's final game. I don't know if that was actually official, not official. Who knows? You get these Jay Glazer reports sometimes, and sometimes they're official, sometimes they're not. And we just kind of go to assumptions. I mean, Jay Glazer assumed Breeze is retiring, and he's like, I'm not sure if I'm retiring. It looks likely. But again, Cole Kmet really started bringing his own at the end of the year. I would not rather have him than, there's like at least three wide receivers I'd rather have in the 2021 class that I would just rather wait for and draft one of those in the mid-second to late second round of the 2021 draft. But Cole Kmet is definitely the best prospect, at least right now, coming out of the 2020 class. And there might be a couple others that are on the fringe, but we won't even get into that now. These are just the first 2 rounds. So if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this content, we're going to be doing daily content, and we're hopefully to do more and more giveaways as the channel grows, because I would love to do some more giveaways. So please subscribe, make sure the alerts are on so you can get those videos each day, and comment below if you want to see what content you would like to see. If you'd like to see more existing players or rookies or specific rookies you would like to see content on, as I'm doing analytics and video watching every single day. All right, peace out. This is Marcus with Dynasty Fantasy Dads, and we'll see you next time. All right, take care, everyone.